Wait, MentisWave uploaded a video on VTubers? Wait, seriously? Manic Pixie Dreamgirls by Mentis like literally just came out. When one gender is mistreated, the other ends up becoming disenfranchised as well.
Hey, internets. One of the more bizarre
Hi,
questions
Mentis.
out there is something I like to refer to as the VTuber question, or VTubers
The VTuber question. Uh-oh.
cringe and degenerate? Or are they fine examples of just pure, harmless, youthful fun? The answer to which is all pretty subjective and something you can argue either way. But what's more interesting is a question that often comes packed with the VTuber question, which is, are VTubers political? And that question often gets swept under the rug with usually the milquetoast answer.
Well, like, is it, like, I mean, I guess the way I see it is VTubing is just a, it's just a content style. I don't think it really has anything to do with, like, the actual specific content. Or, well, I mean, I don't think it has to have anything to do with like the specific content or specific political angle. I think it's literally just, it's the difference between, like, how would I explain it? It's just a style of content, basically. It's a medium. Yeah, exactly. It's a medium. It's a tool. It's not really like a genre. Does that make sense? I don't know why. I've never seen VTubing as a genre. I've always just seen it as a style. Genre would imply that, like, it has very specific things that, like, occur during it.
Tubing is a good way to put a face to a voice with a style.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the bit. Yeah, it's not really a genre. I definitely think it is like a style. But a lot of people, actually, I think Asmund Gold would, I mean, he's, you know, an individual, but I definitely think like there's a genre to like how Asmund Gold presents things. But yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to have that. I think there is definitely a mainstream VTubing, mainstream like sort of corpo VTubing, sort of and that would be along like the genre of like idols, but like it's like an offshoot of like the idol genre. But I don't think that I don't really consider the actual like model VTubing thing to actually be a specific genre in of itself. Yeah.
Which is that, oh, it just depends on the VTuber. Some
Now Political and Leaflit and Kirsha are kind of politics based. I guess so. I mean, I don't know. The thing is, like, I'll tell you, the truth is, I don't really consider myself to be politics based, but I guess I do talk about the subject because I just like to talk about how I feel about stuff. I like to talk about how I think about stuff, what I think and how I think, and I like that. That's what I enjoy. I enjoy like conversations about, like, I mean, just like how we had that entire conversation about like if violence is inherently negative. I enjoy things like that. Like that was a very fun conversation to me. That's like a conversation I'd love to have with my friends. Same as a Foxu and you don't care. Yeah. I think we just are. Like, I don't think it's necessary. Like, I don't like, I like to talk about a wide variety of things. I think the thing that happens is the political stuff is what people enjoy. So, I mean, if you were to look like, you took a look at the videos, let's go by like latest, and you look at like more political sort of video, political social commentary, 68K views, political commentary, 24K views. Food video, 5K views. Video game video, 4K views. Do you see the thing here? Do you see why people think I like food video, 3K view? Do you see what's happening here? It's kind of like, that's kind of why. It's like my editors would rather do political stuff because it's actually what gets traction. And I enjoy talking about it anyway, so it's like not really like a huge deal. Like, sad you like the food videos. I'm still gonna watch them. They just might not go up on YouTube unless there's nothing else to do. Because Julio and Crazy would rather focus on things that have traction. So like if, say, in a day I watch a food video and then I watch a social commentary video, they'll probably put the social commentary video up instead. Does that make sense? But I'm still gonna do both. I'm still gonna watch food videos, but it's just they might not get on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube,
When are you doing that 50k and 50 million post?
whenever I get it from LV. Thank you so much for the 50k, you guys. By the way, I really appreciate it.
VTubers like Kirsch focus on politics a lot. Then you have others like Pippa who are occasionally on the VTuber. Some VTubers like Kirsch focus on politics a lot. Then you have others like Pippa who are occasionally political. And then you have fun little
I'm sorry, Kirsch. I'm sorry, but
moments like this one.
What do you think of men who get cooked?
I think that's really sad. They should beat their wives.
Peachy, isn't it? But honestly, most of them tend to avoid the subject of politics entirely, unless it's in the context.
Yeah, because then everyone will fucking hate you. And it's like a pain. It's like a pain because then people will say a bunch of shit and then like you have to respond to it. And it's like it's such a pain to like actually like have to respond to it and like and deal with people being irrational. It's really quite irritating.
Of a joke. Like, for example, Iron Mouse reacting to AI of Donald Trump and Joe Biden playing video games, which is political, but obviously just satire, which is honestly a smart position for most VTubers to take. Treat politics as something to laugh at, instead of taking a serious stance, so that way they don't alienate half their audience. And so that's the answer you're gonna usually get when you ask the question of, are VTubers political? But that's not where I'm taking this. There's a much more interesting way to answer this question, which is to interpret it as, are VTubers inherently political? Is there something
Interesting.
about VTubers that has inadvertently proven something about modern culture through their rise and success that most people wouldn't even notice or even think about?
Is he gonna bring up the thing about like that Pax was talking about? Is this like is this like the natural progression of the Pax video of like it's saying things about like the culture?
That perhaps there's an
wait, Pax's video on VTubers too? I should watch that one too.
Experiment that all VTubers have been participating in, whether they know it or not, which handedly disproves
what am I participating in?
The major mainstream media narrative. Intentional logical.
The only thing I'm participating in is the fact that I just think anime is aesthetically superior.
Fallacies are used by various media pundits all the time, which is why I am part.
In fact, this isn't even just me. I wish all of you were also anime. It would be great. I think the world would be so much better if we were all anime. Leaflit 2028. Make everything anime.
With ground
That's my political platform, guys. Why should we vote for you, Leaflit, for president? Because I will make everything anime.
Media sources can report the same story in ways that makes it look like the exact opposite of what's going on is true. And ground news helps you see through this.
We're gonna work on psychopath style hologram technology. That's gonna be civilization
bias by compiling thousands of articles and organizing them by their bias and political leaning, with features designed mainly to save you time in comparison to if you were to try and do this by yourself. For example, there are many articles going around this month on what's going to happen to Donald Trump's legal troubles and criminal.
Why not full dive VR tech? Because full dive VR, I mean, I would like that too. That would actually be also ideal. HSV Dragon King, but like the anime hologram technology can be used in IRL as well. So honestly, like ideally we would have both.
Charges since he became president-elect last month. Kind of puts a whole damper on the whole thing, doesn't it? And Ground News provides a lot of features to help you easily sort through these.
I don't know about you guys, but I watched the 2020 election. I watched it like on my couch. And when I watched it, it was 100% in anime filter. I got that anime filter on my phone, and I held my phone up, and I watched the TV through my filter, and it was a much better experience. In fact, I have recordings of it. If you guys are interested, I can show you the recordings I took of Joe Biden and Donald Trump debating each other in 100% anime filter. It was actually amazing.
Articles and see through the bias. First off, it gives a nice summary of the issue.
Where
Prosecutors.
can I download this filter? I think it was like, was it Snapchat or something? Do you guys want to see? Hold on, let me see if I can find it. I know I have it. I know it's on my phone. I have a video, guys. Are you jealous? I have a video on my phone of Mari yelling at me. It's just a video of her yelling at me. It's one of my most prized possessions, and I'll never show it to anyone. Only for me. Mari_en. I'm sorry. Mari_en_ZHCH. That's her new name, guys. This is her new name. Everyone call her that. Mari_ZHCH. I don't know why, but like I remember when I was working at Blizzard, it was always ZHCH instead of like CH. China was underscore ZHCH, not it's like I see. It's like ENUS. You know, it's like underscore ENUS versus ENGB. It's ENGB, ENUS. ZHCH is China.
Don't want judges to toss out Trump's criminal conviction, but recognize
I thought she worked for Riot and NS. I worked at Blizzard too.
that keeping it going would be difficult since he's now
I don't want to tell anyone what I worked on at Blizzard because it's not.
So they are instead trying to stall the case. It also gives a summary of different sources reporting on the topic. Right-leaning sources seem to suggest that prosecutors are obsessed.
What the fuck, crazy ghost? Are you serious?
Going too far, the whole thing is lawfare. Center sources simply state the DA wants to pause the case but uphold the conviction until he leaves office. And left sources like MSNBC reported as if bad orange man is using his election win to evade justice. If you were to ask me, the whole thing is dumb since it was a victimless crime anyways. But ground news can help you come to your own conclusion. Lets you easily see which sources are reporting and how, such as with this handy bias distribution chart, or with things like this that let you see who owns the media sources reporting on the topic. You can also click on a source to be taken directly to their version of the article.
I didn't work on Ghost.
Or find similar articles quickly and easily via the similar news topics feature. There's also Blind Spot, which lets you see at a glance topics that are being ignored or underreported by various media sources.
Hold on. When did come out?
Based on how far to the left or right they lean, which lets you see things that you might ordinarily miss due to the reporting bias. Lastly, ground news is independent and subscriber funded. So to get the same features I have, you can go to ground.news/MentisWave or scan my QR code to now.
When did come out?
Get 50% off the Vantage plan, which gets you unlimited access. But anyways, the answer to that question, have VTubers accidentally proven something about our culture that mass media doesn't really want to talk about, is in fact a very large yes. And it's something that starts to reveal itself when you start to examine the phrase Manic
I didn't work on Boudoir.
Pixie Dreamgirl. A fantastic example of how modern cultural critique is filled with a lot of really dumb ideas that are both largely misandrous towards men, but interestingly, in this particular case, it's also something that has a side effect of being severely damaging to young women, in that it preaches to young ladies a false narrative.
Hold on. When did 4chan come out?
That, when taken seriously, will result in them making a series of really bad and dumb decisions that will ultimately ruin her life.
Okay, we're getting so old, man.
I'm
not that old. Marachas, I'm not that old. Check when Corrector Yui came out. Okay, hold on. When did Card Captor Sakura come out?
A fantastic example of how modern cultural.
Wait. I didn't work on that Diablo.
A lot of really dumb ideas.
Oh my god, guys. My brain is not working right now. Okay, focus. Okay, ADD containment. All right, here you go. ADD containment. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Both largely misandrous towards men, but interestingly, in this particular case, it's also something that has a side effect of being severely damaging to young women, and that it preaches to young ladies a false narrative that, when taken seriously, will result in them making a series of really bad and dumb decisions that will ultimately ruin her life and destroy any romantic prospects she may have. And VTubers have just kind of accidentally proven just how stupid this concept is. So what exactly is a Manic Pixie Dreamgirl, you may ask? I'm sure some people who've clicked on this video already have a basic concept of it, but for those who don't know, Manic Pixie Dreamgirl is a trope, a character archetype of something commonly found in fiction, although can occasionally exist outside of it. And the character usually has the following traits. The first is that they are eccentric or has a quirky personality, you know, not like the other girls type. They're also young, female, and usually single, and so in fiction she will usually be the romantic interest or the hero of the story. She also often has interests and hobbies that are less common for a woman of her age. She's usually optimistic and positive about life, although this rule can be broken if it's in line with her eccentric nature. And lastly, she usually ends up teaching the hero of the story something.
Saberwolf
Young,
says you aren't
safe.
young, so you're safe. Shut up!
About life. She either helps him get on his feet, provides him with some kind of motivation.
Shut up, old man. Saber.
Or again, just
Why don't you go sit at your fireplace?
serves as the basic love interest of the story. So basically, she's quirky, she's positive, she's fun, she's different. And she's also
Yeah, Uncle Saber.
strangely enough, an archetype that you could easily apply to, well, pretty much every single successful VTuber. So I actually found that it was harder to find a VTuber that doesn't fit under the Manic Pixie Dreamgirl label. The vast majority of the VTubing industry can be understood as young girls, usually with a fun and upbeat disposition, using an anime model instead of just being a cam girl, and they usually have some kind of eccentric or unique backstory to their character. There's some men out there who are VTubers, but mostly it's young women, usually women under the age of 35. And what VTubers mostly do is provide entertainment in a manner that is mostly pandering to a male audience. So they'll do things like streaming video games or reacting to internet memes while being quirky and fun. The only real difference here is, again, they're not entirely fictional. There is a real person behind the model. But at the same time, they're still somewhat playing a character. I mean, most of them break character all the time and only occasionally play within their role. In many ways, VTubers are just female streamers using an anime character. But the point is, the successful ones, at least, nearly all fall under the Manic Pixie Dream Girl archetype, which is very, very interesting. Because the thing about the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is that it's also an archetype that is very deeply hated by the sort of neo-Marxist woke progressive types. And they of course use the usual prog snarl
That's true.
words. It's problematic, or it's sexist, or that it's harmful in some way.
Hey, I get called problematic.
You know, it hurt their subjective
It's
feelings,
okay,
so
Leaf.
therefore it's
You
harmful.
were a
Their logic is
PNGtuber
flawless.
long
Don't
ago.
question.
You were just ahead of the crowd.
It's okay, Leaf. You were a PNG tuber a long time ago. That's true. That is true. If that counts, then I've been VTubing for...
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
You've
Don't think about it,
fallen for my
just
trap
accept it.
card.
And they've been talking about this for much longer than VTubers have been a thing, and so VTubers aren't really their go-to example. Instead, they complain about characters usually
It does count as PNG is an older form of VTubing. Okay, let's see. Let's see what the answer is here. Okay, let's see how old these files are. Ugh! February 18. Anyone want to guess what year? The first model ever, 2011. Then, hold on, when was my first VTuber model? Like my actual, like, animated model. First animated model was... This isn't the day I had it, but the first day I used it. 2017 in April. But when did I get it? Because I know I got it in 2016. Her old files are on a floppy disk. I'm like, excuse me, Nature Man, it was on a floppy
Mommy was
disk. It was on a
BMP
zip
tuber who hosted
drive.
her content on GeoCities and chatted
Let's get
with
it
her
right,
collaborates
okay? It
over
wasn't a
ICQ.
floppy disk. It was a zip drive.
Don't question it, don't think about it, just accept it. And they've been talking about this for much longer than VTubers have been a thing, and so VTubers aren't really their go-to example. Instead,
Feminist frequency isn't that this is the Gamergate person, right? The whatever the Sarkeesian person, right? Yeah.
they complain about characters usually in mainstream movies like Summer from, Days of Summer, or Sam from Garden State, or Ruby from Ruby Sparks. And their complaints about it are as follows. The first is that the Manic Pixie Dream Girl only exists to help the male hero out of depression, and that she is therefore just a tool to be used to this end. The second complaint is that she has no life of her own, and often her family has no part in her depiction. Also, she has no will of her own, and just goes along with whatever men want her to.
Yo, isn't that kind of sexist to say, though? Is it just me? This seems...
Has no part in her depiction. Also, she has no will of her own, and just goes along with whatever men want her to do, which is then used to imply that she's failing to pursue her own happiness, and that she's helping men grow while experiencing...
But okay, but hear me out. What if people find happiness in helping other people with their happiness? Like, what if people are support players? Like, not everybody has to be like a freaking main tank or like main character. Some people enjoy being supporting characters, or they find comfort and enjoyment out of that. Because I'm like that. I don't actually like being the main character of anything. I don't like that. I always like playing like the like for instance, I put it into like Pretty Cure, like magical girl context. I would never want to be the pink precure. I always want to be like the blue one who's like the best friend, or like the yellow one who's like the support.
No growth herself, and that the Manic Pixie Dreamgirls is just in general unrealistic. Overall, the main complaint here seems to be just woke progressive feminists screeching that women are not objects that exist to help men or inspire them or make men happy or whatever, and that the Manic Pixie Dreamgirl archetype somehow implies that they are. Now, like all midwit takes, there is a base level of truth in these people whining about Manic Pixie Dreamgirls, because unrealistic characters to serve as romantic interest absolutely do exist, and they can get pretty darn cringe. For example, a common trope you might see in romance novels written for women is an alpha male Giga Chad with supernatural
fierce in fur to tame a Highland warrior, the Goblin King, rock hard, dark. Hold on. The way you love me. Dark needs at night edge. After hours. Oh my goodness. The Archangel's storm. Trouble in Texas. This is fucking real, bro. This is real. What the fuck? I remember one time I was on a cruise ship, and there was like this guy who was like a naturalist, and like he wrote books like this, but like about himself. It was like really fucking weird. Like, I remember it. Yeah, it was like a guy, a naturalist. Like he's like this dude that talks about animals and shit. But like he would write this about himself, and he's like, what if a man from the wilds like appeared at the concrete jungle, and all of the girls wanted him? Read for the real life story of a guy. It was like literally about himself. It's like, dude. The world was a candy store, and the women were, oh yeah, wait, Saber, wasn't that literally a line?
Funny how the
we read
male
it, right? We
fantasy
read,
is most females go to read.
that's right, we read the first page of it. The first page actually had that line. It said the world was a candy store and the women were the candy. Yeah, it was literally, that's literally a line in the book. Holy shit.
powers, taking interest in a totally ordinary, normal, boring girl for basically no reason. And he then proceeds to take care of her and protect her throughout the story for, again, basically no reason. Twilight is usually given as the basic example of this, but it happens a lot. And on the flip side, you can also find unrealistic female characters in things like Japanese harem anime, where an extremely boring male character with no personality, so to
I don't like harem anime. They're freaking really shit.
speak, that always looks like Shinji for some reason, gets his pick of a slew of extremely attractive female characters who all have the hots for him for basically no reason whatsoever. He just kind of exists, and suddenly all these girls who have been designed to have absolutely no unattractive traits in them whatsoever suddenly all want him. And it's true that these tropes can be bad, however, they're not exactly...
One that was really kind of interesting though was like it was like based on a visual novel. It's not really harem, but like it kind of was like set up as that. Was like Clonad, and then like Clonad went like full like that's like it just went like it was going, and then it was like, oh, this is gonna be kind of a harem anime, and then it went like right turn, and it went like straight 90 degrees like at some point, and then it was like, oh, that's not what this is at all.
Sexist and harmful, at least not to the gender they represent. Rather, they're usually harmful more so to the people reading them. The problem with these kind of characters is that they're wish fulfillment characters. They give young readers an extremely unrealistic expectation for the opposite sex, which can absolutely lead to people becoming cold and alone. I mean, there's a reason why harem anime is often laughed at as a genre of anime that is mainly for virgins, because it kinda is, to be honest.
Dang.
A really basic red pill advice for young men is that you can't just sit around and wait for some 10 out of 10 pure-hearted female with absolutely no...
Dude, that's like peak gamer stance right there. That's like some actually it's not. That's like casual gamer stance. Like if you get in like see, this is the problem. Is if you're leaning back like that and you're playing games, you're not playing anything that's actually intense. Because if you're playing something that's intense, you're leaning forward you're close to your monitor and you're like right on top of your fucking keyboard, and like you have like your freaking arms like tucked in for like maximum. You have your arm, like your elbow is tucked into your body for maximum stability for aiming. Like this is not peak gamer stance. This is actually pretty bad. This is like some low elo. This is like a low elo, like kind of scrub stance, in my opinion.
No flaws about her whatsoever, to just magically take an interest in you and do all the work and just want you for no reason. That just doesn't happen.
That's true. The spinal column represents nothing near. That's so fucking true, dude. I knew a guy before, like, and like I'm not really, I don't like rag on, I'm not really ragging on him. He was like a really close friend, and then he went to jail, and then I never heard from him again. But he was a really close friend, and I used to take him to work, and he was like that. Like he had like a shrimp back. Like he played so much games, and he was like so deep in like game development that like he was like a hunchback. Like he would like his entire back was like curved forward like a shrimp. The shrimp of Notre Dame. Yeah, but like I kind of figured it's because he dedicated like his whole life to like making games and shit, you know.
What happens most of the time is that you end up with the partner you earn. So in reality, you have to become the kind of man that the kind of woman you want finds attractive. And of course, the same thing is true in reverse.
I don't like memeing on him, but like he was a really good friend. He was a really nice guy, honestly. Miss him. I wonder what happened to him. I like kind of lost contact with him after he went to jail.
If a woman is not attractive to the kind of man that she finds...
What did he go to jail for? I don't remember. He made Dota All-Stars.
attractive, she's not going to get that man. There are exceptions to this basic rule, but most of the time you can't just do nothing and have your perfect dream partner fall into your life. You have to actually do something.
No, not Ice Frog, no.
And in many ways, it's very similar to economics. You have to offer people something that they want in order to get what you want. And there's another...
It wasn't Ice Frog. It was someone else.
Channel known as Home Math that kind of goes into this extensively when talking about relationship advice. A big problem with the dating market is that too many people are going into it only thinking about what they can get out of it, rather than going into it thinking about what they have to give, or what exactly is it about you that makes you a good partner.
I've never seen Home Math. Should I watch that, you guys? Sorry, I'm gonna back up a bit.
Fall into your life. You have to actually do something. And in many ways, it's very similar to economics. You have to offer people something that they want in order to get what you want. And there's another channel known as Home Math that kind of goes into this extensively when talking about relationship advice. A big problem with the dating market is that too many people are going into it only thinking about what they can get out of it, rather than going into it thinking about what they have to give, or what exactly is it about you that makes you a good partner. And I have a special understanding of this because one thing people might not know about me.
This is like I was talking about before, about how a lot of the problems in like modern society are basically entitlement and lack of gratitude are like the two issues that have caused. Actually, lack of gratitude actually is involved with entitlement. They're actually like kind of intertwined, and I think that's the main issue. Yeah, I really think that the issue is just lack of gratitude. That's like most of the issue with like just the world in general, is just, you know, lack of gratitude, and like again hand in hand with entitlement causes like so many problems.
One thing people might not know about me is that I'm actually a married man. I normally would never bring this up, and I normally don't really talk about myself much because it doesn't really matter.
It's kind of relevant though
in the context of philosophical or political channel. But it is relevant because I can point out one very simple fact about a lasting marriage, which is that you have to care about what your partner wants. You have to care about their well-being. In order for love to work and for it to last, you have to wake up every day thinking about what you have to give, rather than just what you can get out of your partner. If I didn't care about my wife's well-being, or if she didn't care about my well-being, it wouldn't work. You both have to genuinely respect each other's will, almost as if it were your own. And so that is just kind of the basic nugget of truth that exists within this critique of the Manic Pixie Dreamgirl archetype that we're seeing from these neo-Marxist woke progressive feminist types. The problem is, and where they completely screw up and get it all completely backwards, is that what they're whining about isn't actually unrealistic at all. I decided to watch some of the movies and look at some of the characters that are often called out as being Manic Pixie Dreamgirls, and the only consistency I found is that they were women, they had some femininity and some quirkiness to their personality, they liked to have fun, and they didn't hate men. So to any woman out watching this, if you meet these 4 traits, congratulations, you apparently don't exist. So what we are seeing here is kind of the reverse problem. Rather than setting an unrealistically high bar for a potential partner, what we're really seeing here is an example of feminist critique going too far. They're setting an unrealistic...
It is kind of weird to me that, like, men hating fucking movement and then being salty about, like, men being like, fine, I hate you too. It's like, obviously, like how does that make any sense?
For women to go for. Or if you are anything other than a man-hating, scowling, strong woman who don't need no man, then you somehow represent a problematic, unrealistic standard. And that's of course completely ridiculous. It kind of reminds me of the male incel community complaining about how women aren't interested in men who are poor, stupid, and short, or otherwise lack any masculinity in them whatsoever. Just because standards exist doesn't mean you're being oppressed. And look, I get it, it can be really hard to meet some of those standards, especially as-
Dang, he's using, is he, wait a minute.
All women are men. It's right there in the name. We're men.
Wait.
Wake up,
Wait.
sheeple.
Wait. Okay, first off, I was like looking at this, I was like, whoa, he played with a freaking, he played with a Toby eye tracker. I have a Toby eye tracker. Oh, he uses green? I use green too. And I was like, I was like, wow, he played Stellar Blade with a Toby eye tracker? That's interesting. And then I was like looking at it and I was like, hold on, let me move. I was blocking it so I couldn't see. It's in the fucking corner.
A guy, because some of those standards are indeed a lot higher. But whining about it doesn't really change the fact that that bar exists. And going back to VTubers and examining them alongside the movies,
I was like, wait a minute. It started to add up in my mind because I was like looking at it and I was like, ooh, he played Stellar Blade? I was like, he's playing with an eye tracker. I played with an eye tracker too. Wait, he's using green? That's like literally the same one that I use. And then like I looked up and then I saw the chat in the corner. So like I was like, wait a minute, that's not my chat. My chat's on the left. And I was like, but it's on the right. And I was like, wait a minute, that's a Leaflit emote. Wait, that's Mermom Hina. And I was like, wait a minute. Ah!
Because some of those standards are indeed a lot higher. But whining about it doesn't really change the fact that that bar exists. And going back to VTubers and examining them alongside the movies that get accused of having Manic Pixie Dreamgirls in them, we can easily see how this bar isn't really that unrealistic at all. And a lot of the critique also has some really obviously faulty logic when you think about it, which really shouldn't surprise anybody, because one of the main central components of neo-Marxist philosophy is that they tend to view everything through the false dichotomy of victims and oppressors, when in reality social interaction is much more complicated.
Well, the reason why they do that, I mean, they like to view it that way is because if you consider yourself a victim and you know the opposition and oppressor, it justifies literally anything else that you do, right? Because you can justify just about anything at that point.
As a result of this, they tend to commit false dichotomy fallacies and make bad faith arguments all the time. For example, one really stupid and very common false dichotomy is objectification. For example, attractive female characters in a story exist, or lots of YouTubers like to use sexy models. And therefore, men who enjoy that are objectifying them. They only view her as an object. But that's actually a false dichotomy. It is entirely possible.
Well, first off, it's very likely that they like that anyway. You know, so it's kind of like,
In fact, very common for a man to find a woman sexy and attractive and still respect her as a human being with human rights. Just because sex sells doesn't mean that men only view women as sex objects. You can absolutely find a woman sexy and still respect her. And yet whenever I see these radical feminist neo-Marxist critiques of art and literature and whatnot, they just automatically assume that any attractive female character is being objectified, which is objectively invalid reasoning. Those two scales are not tied together. Men's brains do not work in a way where the more attractive we see a woman, we then automatically have to see her as less of a human being. The personality scale and the look scale are entirely capable of going up and down independently of each other. And yet, because neo-Marxist philosophy tends to view the evil, straight, white male as the oppressor group, it is automatically always taken in bad faith, and so it is assumed that the evil, straight, white male must therefore be objectifying any woman who is found to be attractive, or any woman in art or literature who is attractive. And that's objectively not true. It's a false dichotomy fallacy. It's not a sustainable argument, and as I've just shown you, it falls apart very easily when examined. And here's the thing, the same thing is true for pretty much all the other complaints about the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. For example, going back to VTubers, there are a lot of young, depressed men in the Western society. That's just an unfortunate reality, and for many of them, watching VTubers helps them out of that depression. Does that mean they see the VTuber as just a tool to bring him out of depression? Just an object with no will of her own? Just a means to an end of that goal? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. That is just a—
oh my god, wait, this is more stellar play.
another false dichotomy. For the exact same reason, just because someone helped you out of depression doesn't mean you view them as a tool with no human agency of their
Dude, she has a nice butt, this character. I like, dude, she's really hot.
own. That's ridiculous. And going back to mainstream movies, we then have to ask, so why is it that Sam in Garden State is therefore just an automatic—
Stellar Blade was a really good game, honestly.
Asks, so why is it that Sam in Garden State is therefore just an automatic objectified tool for helping Andrew out of depression? Why does that need to imply that—
Jin says this is why we wanted Leaf to watch it. This literally just came out, Jin. It literally just came out.
she has no agency of her own? It really doesn't make any sense as soon as you realize that it's just all false dichotomy. And she's also not a perfect girl at all. She's not unrealistic. She has problems.
Yo, go watch this, but I mean, go share this with your friends and give it a thumbs up and a comment.
Of her own. If you actually watch the movie, Sam has some pretty serious issues. Or how about the idea that the
It's
Manic
funny
Pixie Dream
because
Girl
when
has no
men
life of her
usually think women are sexy, they usually psychologically put them on unattainable princess level.
own? I mean, where's that even coming from? So because a girl doesn't open up about who she is and give us a massive backstory about everything in her life, then she has no life of her own? I mean, plenty of streamers, not just VTubers, and plenty of content creators don't talk about their life that much outside of what content they make. That doesn't imply that we have no life, and it certainly doesn't
Well,
mean—
also a lot of VTubers, I mean, like, I feel like a lot of VTubers, even though they hide the specifics in order to obviously, like, you know, you don't want to get doxxed, you don't want to like have to like for me personally, I don't want to have to deal with shooting someone at my house, like ideally, right? So like I don't really want to deal with that shit. So a lot of VTubers don't really like give very specific stuff about like specific enough to like cause that kind of a thing to happen. That doesn't mean that they don't talk. I feel like VTubers and streamers, like more so than like other kinds of content creators, tell you more about their lives than like anybody else. Yeah, yeah, exactly what Patchouli said. They mention their lives a lot. Exactly. Actually, yeah. That's what I was saying.
that you're only allowed to look at them as someone who has no life. Again, another stupid, bad faith false dichotomy, where the evil, straight white male is assumed to be a villain who only views others as a means to an end. And then the weirdest critique of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl has to be failing to pursue her own happiness, because that's a case where it can be entirely reciprocal. Lots of people have fun making other people happy.
Yeah, again, yeah, a lot of there are a lot of people, and I think this, I think the funny thing is, I think this trait is actually more common in women, actually, that like just find happiness in like other people being happy, at least like sort of like the nurturing aspect, right, that like women have.
Makes them happy. Having fun and being entertaining for others can be a mutually beneficial act. Like with Summer in 500 Days of Summer. And all the silly antics that she's pulling, her character seems to be having just as—
Julio says, I just realized something. Leaf didn't appear in the video when he had mentioned sexy VTubers. Well, good. Good, Julio, good.
as much fun.
I
Summer in
consider
having
that a
fun and being
compliment.
entertaining for others can be a mutually beneficial act, like with Summer in 500 Days of Summer, and all the silly antics that she's
Look
pulling.
at me. I'm such a good girl. My hat means I'm a good girl, obviously. Obviously.
Her character seems to be having just as much fun. In fact, in many cases,
Very
she seems to
say
have
so.
more fun than the male main character. And with VTubers, most of those girls stream for hours on end, and you can tell that they're genuinely enjoying it.
I don't know what it's like to stream for like hours on end, guys. What's it like to stream for 14 hours?
And having fun with their audience. Which then kind of brings you to another problem with neo-Marxist woke progressive thought, which is that they tend to have a very bizarre zero-sum mentality towards the world. They tend to think that one person's gain is another person's loss. One class is the victim, the other class is the oppressor. All again stemming from false dichotomies. And what ends up happening as a result of this is that the sort of radical neo-Marxist feminist types end up shaming any woman who doesn't hate men, which is probably why I see the word Pickmeisha often being thrown at VTubers. Now, on
Wait, Pickmeisha? Wait, why did they add the Isha to it? Wait, is that new? What's the Misha part? Why did they add the Sha to it?
the surface of the
Tazuto says racisms, I'm guessing. But like, isn't that usually, hold on, isn't it usually the anti-racist people that say pick me? So I'm right again. I'm right again about the projection. Yeah, when I say anti-racist, I mean the people who claim themselves to be anti-racist, not the actual anti-racist. I mean the people that call themselves that and make a point that everybody knows that they're anti-racist. That's what I mean.
word, Pickmeisha is defined as a woman who devalues herself in order to get picked by men, or a woman who is constantly seeking validation.
Oh, wait, there we go.
Often being thrown at VTubers. Now, on the surface of the word, Pickmeisha is defined as a woman who
A woman who devalues other women for male approval? Look at that girl talking down on feminists. What a pick, Misha. Well, I mean, if they have a dumb take, then they have a dumb take. I don't think it has anything to do with them being a woman. Like, look at that girl talking down on feminists. Well, like, can't a man also be a feminist?
devalues herself in order to get picked by men, or a woman who is constantly seeking validation from men. But the problem is, the word in practice generally gets used against any lady who happens to get along with men just fine, or just does something that the neo-Marxists don't like. For example, apparently Dipper Dog is a pick-me because she reacted to a video of men doing better than women at hunting, so she had fun laughing at one of the basic biological—
I want to watch this video. Is this the one, the Survivor, that, wait, isn't this a Survivor video when they like had men only and women only teams? Oh, I want to watch that video. I've never actually seen it. I've seen like clips from it, but I've never seen the actual video. I want to see that.
differences between male and female and humans. Apparently this is pick-me behavior. Or how about another example? Apparently Smug Elena is a pick-me for making fun of game journos over the whole Black Myth Wukong fiasco.
That the game journalists were pathetic in this.
Okay, so sometimes VTubers make fun of Woketoids too, and that somehow makes them pick-me's.
They just make it so easy. They just make it so easy. How is it her fault for just pointing out what they're doing?
Gee, it's almost like pick-me isn't really a word that's used with any kind of consistency in regards to what it's supposed to be defined as. It's almost like it's just being used as shaming language against any woman who steps out of line and goes against the cult of woke. And the more you look into it, that seems to be exactly what's going on. Like another silly example, apparently every single VTuber who played Hogwarts Legacy from
You guys know how many people got mad at me for fucking playing Hogwarts Legacy?
Pikami, Pipkin Pippa is a pick-me girl for playing Hogwarts Legacy. Which is weird because Hogwarts Legacy wasn't even really that anti-woke. It's just that the neo-Marx—
it actually got so bad that I actually had a lot of viewers mad at me too. I got a lot of people mad at me on Patreon, sending me messages saying that they're incredibly disappointed in me. Just because I played it. I didn't even make any comments about it. Like, all I did was play it. Like, this is like before, I said a lot less of what was on my mind back in the day. I was always like this, but I never said what was on my mind. I was kind of just quiet about it. I just played Hogwarts Legacy, didn't say anything about it, didn't really talk about, you know, that stuff. And then people got super fucking mad at me. You paid JK money, how dare you? Yeah, they got really mad at me. And then I had a lot of viewers saying like they're incredibly disappointed in me. They can't support a transphobe like me. And then I had people telling me that like if I want to redeem myself, I will donate an equal amount of money that I like equivalent to the amount of money I spent on Hogwarts Legacy. I should donate at least that amount of money to trans charities. And I said no. And people got mad. I just said like I'm not gonna donate because you're telling me to. Like I don't donate. I don't donate because people tell me to donate to stuff. And it's not even that it's not even that like I have friends who are trans. I'm not even like transphobic or anything like that. It's just I don't know where that money's going. If that money's going to like you know, kids and stuff like that, I don't want that. So I'd rather like help out like a friend who is trans if they need money. Basically, I'd rather if I'm gonna donate to something like that, that's what it would be for. It's yeah, and people got mad at me for this. And I had like a friend like luckily I had another friend who told me, but there was like this and this is like the schizo theory on like 4chan and stuff like that. I'm going to explain what actually happened, okay? So basically, there was a Discord. On this Discord, there were a bunch of VTubers. I'm not going to name anybody, but there's basically a bunch of VTubers, and they were basically, I guess, coordinating like who they would blacklist because of who played Harry Potter. And there were people in there that were my friends. Well, at least I considered them my friends because, you know, they asked me to help them with some stuff. And I remember distinctly one of these VTubers asked for my help on something, and it had zero benefit to me, like literally zero benefit to me. But I agreed to do it because out of the sake of friendship, right? So I did something with them, and anyway, so later this person blacklisted me and stuff unpublicly. So they never confronted me to my face. They just did this like underground, didn't ever talk to me about it. But they coordinated like this blacklisting of me that like, oh yeah, like we're not gonna talk to this person and we're never gonna like collab with this person. And they have like this group of people doing it. And the only reason I found out about it is because one of the people told me about it. Again, I'm being vague on purpose because I don't want to expose any identities, but they told me about this. So like, that's how I knew about it. And by the way, this wasn't a, hey, they're talking shit about you behind your back. No, this was like full receipts. Like I read the entire chat log. They were the people getting harassed just for posting Pippa art after she played it. Yeah, I'm guessing it's the same group of people that like went after Pippa as well. And went after all of the VTubers that played Hogwarts Legacy. Anywho, yeah, that was the thing.
Leaflit
and like I lost a lot
American
of friends
jobs
and
to people
viewers
like
over it.
Julio. I see how it is. This is a joke, BTW.
Outsourcing American jobs to feel like Julio. But yeah, it was all over the Wizard game. And like again, nobody even talked to me. Only one person actually talked to me. Like only one person I know actually reached out to me and asked for my opinion and said like, well, you know, I'm a little hurt that you're playing Harry Potter. Why are you doing this? And I explained it to them. I said, this is why I'm playing it. This is how I actually feel about stuff. And then they said, okay, fair enough. And so they're still my friend today, that person. But like everyone else just ghosted me basically. And were really mad that I played it and yelled at me and again sent like messages about how they're disappointed in me and that like I'm a bad person and stuff like that. Why is it that the VTuber community gets so offended easily or tries to get themselves offended? Is it just me? Well, because it's currency. Like that's like the whole thing that like Mentis was talking about in the last video is that being offended, it's all buffs that you can use for like different things. And it's content really, if you think about it. It's content, right? Like if you can get like a bunch of up votes because you're like, oh, this person was like, this person was, this person offended me. It's like, it's a really good way to paint yourself as a good person, and then like the other person is a bad person.
Just have decided that Legacy from Pikami, Pipkin Pippa is a pick-me girl for playing Hogwarts Legacy, which is weird because Hogwarts Legacy wasn't even really that.
People dock Silvervale's family. Yeah, I was talking to Silvervale during that. It's pretty rough. There's a lot of stuff behind that Silvervale thing. I'm not going to talk about any of it for obvious reasons, but it was not good. I'll just say. It was not good, and I felt really bad for Silvervale.
Anti-woke. It's just that the neo-Marxists have decided that for some reason J.K. Rowling is literally the female reincarnation of Germany bad.
She's really nice, by the way. Like Silvervale, like she's one of the nicer VTubers, I'll say.
Mustache man, and therefore the game is problematic, and therefore every VTuber who plays it is a pick-me. The whole discourse surrounding it and how this word is used is just so completely unhinged and insane that I almost don't even need to point out the logical problems with or the false dichotomies and bad faith assertions anymore. The inconsistency is just so obvious that it practically refutes itself. And if you don't believe me,
it's almost like honestly, the funny thing is it's almost like if these people say that a VTuber is awful, they're probably like really nice. Like,
that I almost don't even need to point out the logical problems with or the false dichotomies and bad faith assertions anymore.
Please accept this donation on behalf of all people who have been trans since before it became fashionable online among trolls and
Holy
commies.
Oh, you didn't have to. Thank you so much, Hellcat. Thank you for the bits. Yeah, I know that it's kind of just the same with everything else. I know that it doesn't represent like every single person. I really appreciate it, by the way, but it doesn't represent every single person, right? Just because like there are a lot of people in the trans community that are like that. There's a lot of people in like the LGBT community that are like that. A lot of people in the feminist communities that are like that. Even like even if you want to go more I guess if you want to flip the sides a bit, there's a lot of people even in like how do I explain it? There's people, there's obviously bad people in like the even right-wing movements. There's a lot of bad people in that, but there's also good people. It doesn't represent literally everybody. Like everybody has like their own struggles and stuff. And specifically on that topic, I know there's a lot of trans people that don't agree with like what happened.
Is just so obvious that it practically refutes itself. And if you don't believe me, try searching for the word pick me on the internet and how it's used yourself. It seems to always be used against anyone. Like,
sorry, I know I'm pausing again, but just because a certain group of like trans people were like that doesn't mean I see all trans, like any future trans people like that as well. Like, I mean, like I see people like on an individual level, and that gets me in trouble a lot, actually.
You try searching.
That's why you see me like when somebody gets ganged up on, I'm like, okay, well, what did they really do? And people are like, how could you possibly even defend them? I'm like, I'm not defending them. I just don't know what happened. I don't know how they really are. Patchouli says most of the people they harassed for it were LGBT anyway.
For the word pick me on the internet and how it's used yourself. It seems to always be used against any woman who does anything nice for a man, any woman who sets any kind of standards for herself whatsoever, or just any girl who just does anything at all that the woke left doesn't approve of. That's probably why the smart move is to do what Pippa did, where she adopted the pick me label for herself as her government name. I would strongly advise this to any woman
Pickle Piper, pick me Pippa
who finds herself being called a pick me. Don't take it seriously. Just laugh and move on. And fortunately, it seems that most VTubers seem to understand this. The haters gonna hate mentality is likely the best move here. And so, what's the real conclusion here? Where am I going with this? And the answer to that is that VTubers have accidentally proven that labels like Manic Pixie Dreamgirl and Pickmeisha are really just crab mentality, which is the if I can't have it, neither can anyone else mentality. It's a very
crab mentality. inequality.
Bizarre and toxic psychological phenomenon where people will try to undermine the success of others. Because one thing that's interesting about VTubers is, again, I'm talking about mostly successful VTubers here. A lot of these girls actually make pretty decent money. They don't make as good of money as some people think they do, but for any girl who manages to hit around 100k followers, it can become a pretty stable upper middle class income. And the girls who manage to hit a million can also hit the 7-figure mark in their income as well, which is kind of the bizarre irony of the situation. I've often said the biggest problem with modern feminism isn't so much that it defends women's rights, but rather the problem is it doesn't really defend women's rights.
Yep.
It instead tries to entitle women with rights that have nothing to do with property rights, as a form of weird gender...
Again, what I say, it's all about entitlement. Entitlement, lack of gratitude. Those are the biggest issues with society.
Socialism to convince women that they're always the victim. You know, going back to the victim-oppressor dichotomy of the whole neo-Marxist ideology. And yet, here they are shaming successful women because some of those successful women are turning against the woke brigade. It really shows just how toxic the...
Like, why try if you deserve it, right? By default, you deserve it. So, like, why even try?
Ideology is. But perhaps the worst part about this isn't really something to do with VTubers specifically, and instead just manifests as general bad dating advice directed at young women. If I were to look at both the red pill manosphere and compare it to, say, female dating strategy, one could attempt to argue that, oh, they're both equally bad, they're two sides of the same coin. But that's not actually true, because the red pill community at least gives men basic, decent advice, even if it really can be a little bit misogynist at times. For example, when Andrew Tate says that you should lift and that men should be constantly improving themselves, he's correct. Some of the other things he says may be questionable, but the basics of the advice is correct, which is that you need to be constantly striving to be the best version of yourself.
Isn't that the reason why people are this isn't what I believe, but isn't this why people are saying that Andrew Tate is like quote unquote dangerous? Because there's like an underlying like actual self-help message like that's layered on top by like toxic masculinity that they call it. It's probably scary, like, to them. I mean,
because that way you're focusing on what you have to give, which in turn increases your value in the dating marketplace, or just makes you a higher value partner in general. And you see that within pretty much all of the red pill community. Constantly improving oneself is always a part of the message. And yet, when you look at the advice given to young women in places like female dating,
I guess that's the thing that people were talking about, because I remember there are a lot of people talking about self-help stuff and how how self-help stuff is like super toxic, but it's like a lot of it is just telling you basic stuff of like how to, you know, maneuver in life in ways that they should be teaching you in school, but they don't.
Strategy, or pretty much any dating advice from a sort of neo-Marxist woke feminist lens. This angle of self-improvement doesn't really exist. Going back to how home Maths puts it, it's stuck at stage 3. They're stuck in the mindset of thinking of relationships only in the context of what you can get out of them. And so the self-improvement element is largely missing from their advice. There's a little bit of it, but it's from the bucket in a sea of entitlement. For example, what is a high-value woman?
Julio says, insane things to catch their attention and then listen to your actual good advice. Yeah, it's literally ideological clickbait, right? That's why, like, Julio is always coming up with these crazy-ass thumbnails that make me look like a freaking insane person. Fucking Julio's By the way, if you're wondering who's in charge of, like, those thumbnails that are fucking crazy, that's Julio. He's the one that makes it look like I want people to die all the time.
Well, according to them, a queen. And what is a queen? Well, it's a woman who already knows that she's high value. And if that sounds like circular reasoning, well, because it is. And
I don't need to come up with ideas for you to look insane. Julio,
therefore, the queens deserve high value men
doing God's work.
And if you're a woman and you dare question that, and you try to think about what you can
man.
do to improve yourself, well then, you guessed it, you're a pick-me. Do you question the narrative?
Awesome, Ira. He knows what you're really like doing God's work, says Nagashi.
That all the queens deserve high value men because they just do. And if you're a woman and you dare question that, and you try to think about what you can do to improve yourself, well then, you guessed it, you're a pick-me. Do you question the narrative that all the evil straight white males are in fact a bunch of bastards who only want sex? Well, you're a pick-me. You being nice to men? Nope, can't do that because men just want to...
You know what's always weirded me out about this whole thing is like, the whole thing of like, oh, like men are the fucking worst. And it's like, I mean, I guess it doesn't really apply to like, I guess, gay feminists, but then like, what about your husband? And then they'll say things like, oh, like all men are like, they're bad by default. It's like, But what about like your son? Like your future son? Like it just seems fucked up. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Sleep with you. And any lady who questions that is, again, you guessed it, a pick me. And while there is
What husband? What son?
a little bit of correct advice here, like for example, I will never be with a man who cheats on me, it doesn't really matter because that one's kinda obvious. There's nothing in here that teaches young women what they actually need to know, which is how to improve themselves, and how to in here that teaches young women what they actually need to know, which is how to improve themselves and how to select for men who are actually interested in commitment. Instead, what I see from this ideology seems to start out from the assertion that you are already maximum value, and so ladies are therefore entitled to commitment from men. And depending on whether you are a man or a woman, if you question this, you are either a pick-me or a sexist. And that is not good advice for young women. Unless, of course, you're trying to write a book that is designed to teach girls how to wake up one day and look in the mirror discovering that they are 50 years old and still single and never married. Thinking that you're entitled to commitment is terrible advice. And if we look at similar subreddits to FDS, by shared user base, we can see that this is exactly what's happening. Dating over 30, dating over 40, child free. This is definitely not the advice that any young lady should be listening to. And then you look at the red pill community for men, and it's a completely different story. There's plenty of self-improvement here. Seduction, bodybuilding, male fashion advice, fitness, social skills. This is actual proper advice. And the most important difference, though, is that you almost never see men
it kind of reminds me of like the whole thing of like how it's kind of like, at least for me, it's how do I say this? Basically, a lot of times guys want to know how to fix problems, and women want to feel better about the problems. Does that make sense? And I've experienced this because like I'm friends with like a lot of guys. I'm friends more with guys than I am with girls, and a lot of the times my friends who are girls, like I've had cases where like they've gotten mad at me because they've had like a problem, and I've like basically told them, okay, well, like you can solve that like this way, and then they would get upset at me. And I couldn't really, like, I didn't really get it. I don't know, maybe, I mean, I'm just dumb or something. I'm not really good socially, by the way. I'm like kind of socially dumb. Yeah, and it's because I spent like most of my time playing video games. They want a cheerleader, not a fixer. Yeah, that might be like why there's a difference here, right? Or like we're like basically if you look at the female advice, it's like you're a high value female, like, you know, slay queen, and it's like what you don't know the truth about men, you know, like why you should be a high maintenance female. This is like basically all like trying to like hype you up to be exactly how you are. Whereas like the men thing is like, here's how to fix your problems. Like, you know, get fucking swole, make lots of money, right? Like, you know, how to like actually get women to like you, you know, like how to get like, you know, how to become more attractive, how to get fucking ripped and like, you know, be like a lot stronger. And then you have like, you know, fitness, like how to like feel better about like, you know, be more healthy, social skills. These are all like very like how to actually fix your problem. I think that's the issue. That's why they're different, I think.
Building, male fashion advice, fitness, social skills.
And that's not to say that there aren't women that actually want to have that kind of advice. There are women that do want to like fix their problems and stuff like that. But I think, and there are also men who just want to be comforted, for sure. But it just depends, right? I just think that the ratios are I think it's more likely among women.
Actual proper advice. And the most important difference, though, is that you almost never see men tearing each other down for being successful. And yet it happens all the time in the circles of fake advice given to women, constantly clawing at each other and ripping each other apart for that one time she did something nice for a boy. It's pretty ridiculous, and it sadly shows that Western society still has yet to fully learn. There's a legendary article called The Misandry Bubble, written by Imran Khan of The Futurist. And one of the most...
Snoot says, get yourself an autistic woman, chat. Queen Leah spoke. Don't fucking call me queen. That's so weird.
Important parts about it that most people kind of...
Grim says that's one of the most perfect ways to put it. I mean, it's just my observation, right? I mean, call me a pick me or whatever, but it's like I said, like my whole life, I was kind of a shut-in. Like I'm a shut-in person. Like I don't like really going outside that much and like talking to a lot of people. That's not to say I was like completely. I'm definitely more shut in now than I was. But even before, like my entire like going out was like to play games. It wasn't really like to, you know, go hang out or whatever. And I spent most of my time just reading books, watching anime, playing video games. And because of that, um I played a lot of MMOs, which are like basically as social as it gets for like a video game. It's kind of yeah, anyway. And when I played games, there was really mostly only guys playing it. There weren't really that many girls playing it. In fact, like when you met another girl that played it, you like became like best friends, you know? It's like anyway, yeah, there weren't really many that's why most of my friends are guys, because those are the circles I hung out with, is mostly guys. That's why.
Gloss over is this section right here. At the base
Or bitter rivals, yes. True.
basic premise of this article is that men and women are equally valuable, but have different strengths and weaknesses, and different priorities. Society is strongest when men and women have roles that are complementary to each other, rather than of an adversarial nature. Furthermore, when one gender, either one, is mistreated, the other ends up becoming disenfranchised as well. Any society that wishes to sustain itself needs for men and women to get along with each other, or else both parties are going to end up suffering, as the culture of their society becomes more and more toxic. And so when you see progressive pseudo-intellectuals, under the guise of women's rights, trying to demonize men, and telling women that holding herself to any kind of standard is giving in to some kind of sexist stereotype, over time that mentality is doomed to end up harming women just as much as it harms men. And VTubers have gained success by just kind of accidentally breaking out of this mold. They've found a niche market in being fun and entertaining and not hating men.
One thing to think about too is a lot of VTubers, especially ones that have been into games and stuff like that for a while, they probably come from the same place. Right, where if you play thank you for the water, mommy. If you're a VTuber and you spent like a lot of your time online, you probably encounter guys a lot more, right? So that might be it too. Specifically with like VTubers that play games specifically.
So it's kind of a silly but also very real example of the free market kind of
What
fixing.
does my mom think about this topic? I can ask her, but yeah.
But unfortunately, there's still a lot of work to do, and the dating market in general needs to be repaired from the damage that has been caused to it by this neo-Marxist regime. And hopefully today I have helped by pointing out just how
majority seem to play or have played a lot of MMOs. I don't know if this is true. This is just one of my like gut feelings and observations. I think that girls play MMOs the most because they're the most social video game. They're the most social video game with the least mechanical skill involved. So it's kind of like girls like social, like being social, at least on, even antisocial girls like to be social on like at least a very base level of like just like humans being social creatures. So you don't want to feel alone, but you also don't want to be the thing that's so comfy about an MMO, right? Is you're social on your own terms. Like you can log off whenever you want, right? Whereas like if you go outside, like say you're outside, you're at a mall with like a bunch of like other girls, it's like you can't just fucking log off. You know what I mean? But like if you're in a game and you're like, okay, this I'm not feeling this anymore, like you just log off, right? You can't but be rude. I mean, you just say I gotta go. I did that too. It happened to me in VR chat. I was in VR chat one time with Tozito, actually. It's Tozito and Shymoth and some other people. It was after a community day, and all the people, like, so I ended stream and I said, like, we can still hang out if you guys want. So we went to go check out VCat, and a bunch of us were on checking out VCat, and it started to feel a little too real for me because like VCat looks kind of like a mall. And like, I was like kind of in a flock of people and we were like looking at like virtual clothes and stuff like that. And it like triggered some primal fear in my mind. And I said, and I felt like I was going to throw up. So I basically said like, I got to go. And I just logged off.
ridiculous and inconsistent the flaw.
I didn't realize that wanting to be social on your own terms was a girl thing. I thought it was a I don't no. That's not what I mean, Hellcat. It's not a girl thing specifically. I'm just saying that people in general, like human beings, are social, and I feel like, especially, I feel like girls have a more tendency, even with girls that are antisocial, have a little bit more of a tendency to like still desire at least a base level of socialness. And the great thing about being online is that it's being social, but it's also a little bit removed from being social. So like at any time that it gets uncomfortable, you can leave. Whereas again, if you're going out with people, like you're committing to like going out with people, you have no escape. Right. Anyway.
Reasoning that this regime uses really is, which is important because
I don't think I'm autistic, actually. I don't know. Do you guys think I'm? I don't think so. I don't want to self-diagnose myself. I don't think I am, really.
a lot of these people who believe in this ideology are in fact mainstream corporate journos, and you will see this kind of inconsistent reasoning.
I think I have ADD though. I think I do. I don't know. I've never gotten tested, and I'm never gonna get myself tested because I don't give a fuck. But yeah.
This ideology are in fact mainstream corporate journos, and you will see this kind of inconsistent reason.
I think I'm just weird. I don't think like being weird necessarily means that you're autistic. I think I'm just weird. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I'm just not like, I'm just a weirdo. That's it.
In mainstream publications, but hopefully you now know how to spot it and not
Chat, she's weird. She's a pig.
see this kind of inconsistent reasoning in mainstream publications, but hopefully you now know how to spot it and not fall for it. And so for now, that is all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and if you enjoy my content and want to support me, you can do so on either Ko-Fi, Subscribestar, or by buying some merch, or by again checking out Ground News. Because they really do a great job in showing how the same story can be shown in a completely different light from different sources. But yeah, again, for this video, that is it.
Damn, I thought I could click on this. Gamers Rise Up Mentis mug. Yo, I kind of want this. That's pretty fucking hilarious. I like that one. Gamers Rise Up mug. I kind of like the other one more. This one's funny. This one's hilarious. Anyway, make sure you guys give that a thumbs up so that it will boost Mentis in the algorithm. Helps them out a lot too. And you should also comment